Welcome to the Rearview Mirror UFC 215 post-fight show. My name is Flyin Brian J. Thank you so very much for joining me. So normally on this show I have a poll down here to ask you what post-fight letter grade you would give the card. But what I use to make the polls is down for server maintenance, so that's a crock of BS, right? But, I mean, if you guys could just be my co-host here, tell me what post-fight letter grade you would give the card just in the comment section. I will read it, and everyone can know what you gave the card for a grade as a whole from start to finish. And if you don't want to listen to the whole show right now, but you're interested in all of my thoughts on the thing, you can subscribe to MMA Mania on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podcast Addict. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find this show. So, hey, what's up, Andy Lang? Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Everyone in the comment section is saying Shevchenko won that fight. Marcus Benuelos says 48-47 Shevchenko, giving her rounds 2, 3, and 4. Gary Foster says Shevchenko won that fight. Marcus Zachary, what's up, my friend? And Troy Eden says Shevchenko won that fight. Okay, so I want to start, of course, talking about the main event of UFC 215, where Amanda the Lioness Nunez defeated Valentina Bullet Shevchenko to retain her women's bantamweight title via split decision, 47-48, 48-47, and 48-47. And the first thing I want to mention is that, yes, that was a super close fight, and arguably the decision was controversial. But I think there's one thing as fight fans that we do a lot that I'm definitely guilty of, because it's a lot of fun, and honestly, it gets me a lot of attention on social media. But we got to quit crying so darn much. All of our crying about the decision isn't going to change a damn thing. Not a single thing. Amanda Nunez is still the champion. Perhaps we can run this fight back again. We could have them fight for the third time, but crying about it isn't going to do us any good. Now that I've got that out of the way, I thought that Valentina should have won the fight. In the 5th round, man, Valentina had it locked up, and then she went for that head and arm throw against Amanda Nunez and really cost herself that fight there. But even when she was on her back against Amanda, Valentina was the one who was landing elbows from the bottom, a lot of punches on Amanda's face, and Amanda was doing nothing. She was just trying to hold position, trying to win on the judges' scorecards, and Valentina was out there to put the hurt on Amanda Nunez. And I don't necessarily agree with what Valentina said in the post-fight interview, where she said that Amanda didn't hit her at all. No, Amanda snapped her head back a few times, but she still did look as pretty as she did when she stepped into the octagon. Fred Carignan says that she defended, what, 3 takedowns too? Yeah. Carl Cox says appeal the decision for Big John not penalizing Nunez. That's something we need to talk about, Carl. Normally when we get done talking about the main event, I go into my WTF of the card. But let's just give a candidate for the WTF of the card right now, and that's going to Big John McCarthy. And no disrespect, John, if somebody shows this to him, which they probably won't, but he warned Amanda Nunez like 17 times about her fingers being pointed straight out and towards Shevchenko's eyes. He gave her 1 official warning, but like 6 unofficial warnings. It's like, dude, you told her so many times when you stop the action to pull her away from Shevchenko, to halt the action there, you got to take a point, dude. You can't just say don't do that over and over and over and over again, man. I was super annoyed by it, and a little bit too when I was trying to watch the fight and maybe score it like a normal fight fan would score it as they're watching the fight. I was distracted by Amanda. Just her fingers were straight out for the first like 3 rounds. So for 15 minutes, Amanda Nunez's left hand was straight out forward. That was pretty annoying. But overall, it was Amanda who was pressing forward. It was Amanda who was landing the harder strikes. Let's look at the significant strikes landed in the entire fight. Round 1, 16-11 in favor of Nunez. Round 2, 17-15 in favor of Nunez. 3, Shevchenko 20-17. 4, 25-20 for Shevchenko, and round 4, 25-20. Round 5, 12-6 for Shevchenko, and 33 total to Amanda Nunez, 15. So if you just look at those stats, it seems as though Shevchenko should have won the fight. John Maddarog says the harder strikes. Yeah, dude. He says, what was I watching? Every time Amanda landed, even though it wasn't that often, it snapped Shevchenko's head back. And even though Shevchenko didn't have any damage on her, it seemed like Amanda was landing the harder strikes. Shevchenko was landing with a lot of pop, but it didn't seem to affect Amanda as much as it was affecting Shevchenko. And that's subjective. So we're watching the same thing, John. It's just my subjective eye that thought that Amanda was landing harder and Shevchenko was landing the crisper counter strikes. Super close fight, though. Donnie Smith says Nunez did not land one decent shot. I disagree. I'd have to rewatch it, but she definitely snapped her head back a few times, and she landed a total of 76 significant strikes. Troy Eaton doesn't think Amanda landed a meaningful punch either. Don't leave the decision in the hands of the judges. That's what Muhammad Aiden says. Yeah, that's one thing. Anyway, the fight was extremely close. If we could talk about it from the very beginning, it seemed like Amanda Nunez could have unleashed some fury like she normally does in the past, overhand rights that are very vicious, and maybe look for a takedown earlier and go for some ground and pound, but she was very, very conscientious about conserving her gas tank in order to make it into the championship rounds. And between round 3 and 4, she started screaming in her corner before heading into round 4 to like signal, yes, I'm actually excited that I actually have energy heading into the championship rounds. And what I don't understand, and this is just a gripe that I have with fighters in general, why do they always say let's go? It's you, one person. There's no let's about it. Like, I'll go. I don't know, don't even yell that. It's just a stupid thing to yell. Marcos Benuelo says Nunez landed punches, no doubt about that, but nothing she needed to worry about. Yeah, Shevchenko was never hurt at all. She was never in any danger. The fight was tightly contested. Let me ask you this, guys. Luke Ferris. We're going to get to RDA in a second, Luke. Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Carl Cox, super close. Big John, though, made it not a very good fight because of not penalizing Nunez when he should have. I want to ask you guys this. Do you want to see the fight ran back for a third time? Do you guys want to see this immediate rematch? Do you want to see a new contender for Nunez? Do you want to see Shevchenko perhaps go to 125 pounds and contend for the flyweight belt? Would you like Amanda Nunez to maybe go up and fight Chris Cyborg? Which, yes, all of us do want to do that, right? If you don't want to watch Nunez versus Cyborg, I think you're crazy. But do you want to see this fight ran back? Marcus Zachary, I'm not going to read that. That's funny, though. Nicholas Penzarella. Amanda had ring control, and I had 2-2 going into the 5th. The takedowns did it. I was expecting a majority draw, if not a Nunez win. I don't think we could have possibly seen a draw because there was no, 10-8 round. But anyway, I don't know. Arguably, I would give the 5th round to Shevchenko despite those takedowns because, like I said, even when Nunez put her on her back, it was Shevchenko who was landing punches, landing elbows, doing anything at all. Nunez was just trying to hold position. So, great, you got a takedown, now fucking do something with it. Yeah. Fred Carignan says, give them both one more fight, and then if they both win, run it back again. I like that. Gwen Roldan has a great point here. She says, don't you think that Valentina should have risked it a bit more and to go for it to get the belt? Amanda was just defensive. Somebody tweeted it. I don't remember who said it, but Nunez was in there doing the Tyron Woodley thing, just keeping her belt. That isn't the type of champion I want. That's why I wanted Shevchenko to win this belt, even though she didn't really risk it for the biscuit. But it seemed like Amanda Nunez, when the fight was canceled because of her sinusitis, and then in her performance tonight, it seemed like she's just trying to hold on to the belt. It's no longer about what got her to the dance. She's just trying to stay on the dance floor. And that's not exciting. I want to see you be hungry for it. I want to see you hungry for finishes, not just conserving your gas tank to maybe make it to the 5th round. You know, that's not what got you here, Amanda Nunez. I wanted to see Amanda Nunez throw down like she does. She's ferocious. She's one of the most ferocious fighters in the history of women's fighting, and she didn't get ferocious in there, and she didn't throw down. Let's move down, and let's get off of this fight for a little bit, guys, and move to Rafael dos Anjos versus Neil Magny. I forgot to look at exactly, I didn't write it down what happened exactly, but I think they came out there staring at each other for a minute there. Then I think Rafael went for an outside low kick that dropped Neil Magny. Rafael got on top of him, quickly past his guard. He was stuck in half guard for a bit, tried to get over to the mount, pulling his left leg out of the guard, the triangle guard of Neil Magny. Instead of going for the mount from that position, Rafael got it out and then switched to side control. Got a little bit of ground and pound, some elbows to Neil Magny's face. Then he was able to get into mount position, and then some shit happened. Some rolling, basically just Rafael controlling the shit out of Neil Magny. Neil did nothing. And then Rafael sank in a submission via arm triangle choke at 3:43 of the very first round. Incredibly impressive performance from Rafael dos Anjos. But, as Fred Carignan says, Neil Magny sucks off of his back. But a lot of people were coming into this thinking about how Rafael dos Anjos, because he was at a huge reach disadvantage to Neil Magny, see the official, a 10-inch reach disadvantage on the arms and a 7-inch reach disadvantage on the legs, that Neil was going to be able to keep distance on Rafael, jab and move, jab and move. When has Neil Magny ever fucking done that? The guy uses his wrestling and his long, Gumby-like extremities to get the better of opponents in grappling exchanges. I never for 1 second thought that Neil Magny was going to be able to keep Rafael dos Anjos at bay with his jab and footwork. The guy doesn't possess very good either of those things. And then, so if he's going to try to win this fight in a grappling exchange against Rafael dos Anjos, I didn't think it was going to happen, but I did not think it was going to be that impressive of a performance from Rafael. Nicholas Penzarella says RDA will get to the top of the division, and then but not sure he can beat Wonder Boy. I'm not sure he can beat a lot of the guys at the top of the welterweight division. I know that coming into this fight, Neil Magny was ranked number 6 and Rafael was ranked number 10, but he's already just crushed Donald Cerrone, and Donald Cerrone's actually 6th. Was tied with Neil Magny for 6th. So Rafael's crushed Donald Cerrone a couple of times. Carlos Condit is retired. Jorge Gamebred Masvidal should probably get the next title shot. Damian Maia, that'd be a fun fight with RDA. Robbie Lawler, Stephen Thompson. Man. What's crazy to me is I'd give Rafael dos Anjos a great chance in all of those fights. I think his toughest fights are going to be against Colby Covington and Tyron the Chosen One Woodley. Maybe Damian Maia. But what's next for Rafael dos Anjos, you ask? You didn't ask, but I'm going to try to say something anyway. I want Jorge Masvidal to fight Tyron Woodley next. What is Stephen Thompson up to? He's got a fight booked, doesn't he? Yes. Oh, yeah, he's against Jorge. So the winner of Stephen Thompson... If Jorge beats Stephen Thompson, I think Jorge should get the next title shot. So, Robbie Lawler versus RDA? Yep, that's what I'm going to say. Robbie Lawler versus RDA. Ronnie Deal says Nick Diaz. Man, I don't care who fucked Nick Diaz. I would like to see, honestly, actually, Robbie Lawler fight Nick Diaz, the rematch, like years and years in the making. But it doesn't seem like Nick Diaz is coming back to fight ever again. So as of right now, I'm going to say that RDA should fight Robbie Lawler, and it should happen in December. Yep. I don't know. Let's talk about Henry the Messenger Cejudo. Fucking destroyed Wilson Hayes. And it's tough for me to say what exactly Henry Cejudo did because he did so many darn things. He came out in a sideways kind of karate stance. Joe Rogan kept saying it was kind of like Conor McGregor, but of course orthodox, right-handy. And then Daniel Cormier said he got a text from his buddy that said that Cejudo was training with Lyoto Machida. That turned out not to be true. He got that karate shit from the Patricky and Patricio Pitbull brothers. He looked really good with it. He was really fast with his kicks. He had he had one takedown at the end of the first round just to kind of solidify that round. He hit Wilson with a lot of thunderous power. Wilson kept doing that shoulder movement and then trying to throw an overhand right. Every time Cejudo would get right out of the way. Sometimes he met him with a right straight down the pipe. Good inside and outside low kicks. Everything from Henry Cejudo tonight was fantastic. And then he ended up countering Wilson Hayes with a straight right. that knocked Wilson down, and then he got a little bit of ground and pound. It was kind of a quick stoppage, but you could see in Wilson's eyes in the first round that the power of Cejudo was getting to him, and he wasn't really with it. He was never competitive with Henry Cejudo. So despite the stoppage coming pretty quick, I'm not upset with it because Wilson just didn't have a chance. In the post-fight interview, Henry Cejudo, well, first Henry walked over to the cage and talked to Demetrius Johnson for a second, and Demetrius said, "Yeah, hey, good job," and Demetrius was cheering him on and everything. And then Joe's like, "So you talked to Demetrius, what did he say?" And it was just, "Oh, we just exchanged pleasantries." I'm like, "Okay, great, Henry." And then Joe's like, "So what's next for you, Henry?" And he's like, "I'm just getting better, Joe. I've been doing this for 4 years, Joe. I'm just perfecting my craft, Joe." He said Joe's name a whole bunch. And then he said that he'd like to fight for the belt someday, but that's probably not right now. And I agree. Henry Cejudo, deserves a shot. Honestly. I mean, who else is going to get a shot against Demetrius Johnson? I think Ray Borg should get to the back of the line. I know it was a viral illness, but I think it was stemmed from a weight-cutting issue, but that's another discussion for another day. Henry could get a title shot again. And Sergio, the Phenom Pettis, could get a title shot right now with his performance over Brandon, the Assassin Baby Moreno. Looked really good there. Henry and Pettis were scheduled to fight in May. I say that, and then Henry pulled out with an injury. I say we rebook that fight, and the winner gets Demetrius Johnson. In the meantime, Demetrius will probably be lined up for his 11th title defense in a row to break Anderson Silva's title defense record. But Mark Samuelson says, "What about Justin Gaethje?" What about Justin Gaethje, dude? There was only one lightweight fight tonight, and they had 2 lightweight fights, and nothing to do with Justin Gaethje. He's an exciting fighter. I don't know what you want me to tell you about him. So Henry Cejudo, I think we book him against Sergio Pettis next, and it could be again in December, soon, because Henry took no damage. Sergio should be good to go really soon. Let's move on. Let's talk about Ilir Latifi versus Tyson Pedro. What's up, Scott? Thanks for hanging out, man. I gotta take this drink quick. Cheers, guys. That's tasty. Ilir, the Sledgehammer Latifi versus Tyson Pedro was not exactly the pinnacle of excitement. Pedro was the more diverse person on the feet. Nicholas Panzarella says that Pedro's going to be a beast. He showed a lot of skills tonight, man. He showed pretty good takedown defense against the phenomenal wrestler and low center of gravity, Ilir Latifi. He did a good job getting underhooks. He did a good job when the fight got to the ground and Ilir was on top. Tyson would get it to north-south from the bottom so that he could swim some underhooks and then explode and twist and get back to his feet. That was phenomenal. But he was met with quite a few counter overhand rights from Ilir when Tyson would throw kicks to the body or stuff like that. And then when Ilir actually got in on his hips, got his hands clasped together, and got the fight to the ground and was able to get in Tyson's guard and get on top of him, not north-south, Tyson just had no get-up game. And this was the first fight of Tyson Pedro to even go to the second round. And he was actually pretty fresh going into the second round and into the third round. So a lot to look forward to from Tyson Pedro. His kicking arsenal was very diverse. Stepping side kicks to the thigh. You could see a lot of the Jackson Winklejohn things coming from him, the kind of Johnny Bones Jones type of stuff. High kicks, question mark kicks, round kicks. A variance with his punching techniques, but Ilir was just too strong, too veteran savvy, and he basically had the kryptonite that Tyson couldn't handle, which was the wrestling. Overall, though, that fight wasn't very exciting. Nicholas says that Pedro should have stuck with those body kicks. He did hurt Ilir a couple of times with the body kicks, but then when he did get tired, I mentioned he did look pretty decent in the second and third round, but he was fading a little bit, and those kicks were coming slower, and Ilir was able to counter with the overhand right and also catch it to get in closer on Pedro's hips. So I think that Pedro slowing down a little bit, as well as Ilir gaining momentum, is why Pedro probably went away from those body kicks. Christy Lynn Carrillo? I don't know. What's up? Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens versus Gilbert El Nino Melendez kicked off the pay-per-view portion of this card. What's funny is that we talked a little bit about RDA a second ago, and Jeremy Stevens knocked out RDA at 155 pounds. Now Jeremy is competing at 145, and RDA is competing at 170. Isn't that nuts? I just find it nuts. Gilbert Melendez, this was his first fight at 145 pounds, and Jeremy Stevens came out right away and outside low kicked Gilbert into fucking oblivion. Gilbert comes from the training camp with the Diaz brothers. They don't check low kicks. Gilbert did not do a very good job of checking low kicks, and Jeremy just kicked that same spot over and over, was dropping Gilbert Melendez with low kicks a lot. And what was stupid of Jeremy was he would follow Gilbert to the ground a few times. He should just be like, nope, get up. I want to see you on that leg, brother. Don't give him any chance to recover, or don't follow him to the ground, basically is what I'm saying. Other than that kick on the feet, Jeremy was hitting him with quite a bit of pop, a lot of heart, and a lot of we can give some cred or some props to Gilbert for sticking in there with. He had a huge fucking bulge on the side of his leg from those low kicks from Jeremy Stevens. So let's give him some props for staying in there. I thought it was going to be broken. I was just so scared that I was going to be watching the fight, and then all of a sudden a low kick would happen, and Gilbert Melendez's chicken little leg, as Luke Ferris says, was going to just snap in half, and that would have sucked. Great performance from Jeremy Stevens, but I still think both of these guys are Lost Battalion, and they're never going to sniff a title shot. So good job for you, Jeremy Stevens, but like, I don't care. I forgot to talk about the WTF of the card. My first WTF of the card is going to Daniel Cormier, and it's a good WTF of the card because Daniel, one, he was the cage side announcer alongside Joe Rogan and John Anik, but two, for the Fight Pass prelims, Daniel Cormier was doing the in-cage post-fight interviews. That was phenomenal. I think they're probably grooming him to take over for Joe Rogan when Joe Rogan inevitably retires from being a cage side announcer, and that was awesome. So what the F? I love that Daniel Cormier's doing that, and also I just love Daniel Cormier. He brings a jovialness. Is that a word? Let's make it a word. He brings a sense of joviality. That's not a word either, probably. You get what I'm saying. He's so fun. He's jovial. He's happy. He's laughing a lot. He's making jokes. He's just this fun-loving guy, and he conveys that, and he makes you feel it too as the listener to the broadcast, and I just love Daniel Cormier for that. Another possible WTF of the card is Sarah Moras is fucking really, really flexible. What the F? How flexible are you? But really, my WTF of the card is going to go to the referee who was in charge of Rick Glenn versus Gavin Tucker. This fight went to the judges, but check out the scorecards: 30-25, 30-24, 29-27. The first round was super close. That's why there's a 29-27 in there. And so that tells you that a 30-24 would mean there was 3 10-8 rounds in favor of Rick Glenn over Gavin Tucker. But no. What I'm thinking is the judge that gave it 30-24 probably gave it 10-9 round 1, 10-8 round 2, and 10-7 round 3. 10-7. That's awful. That's like someone almost died in there. And man, I'm a little bit worried about Gavin Tucker. I should check his social media to see how he is doing, because Rick Glenn was putting the hammer on Gavin Tucker at the end of round 2, and it looked like Gavin Tucker could have quit on the stool between rounds. Then he got him to the ground. Rick Glenn got Tucker to the ground in round 3 and was just pummeling him. There was at least 30 unanswered strikes. Somebody told me 33. I don't know. It could have been 50 plus. Let's look at the stats. Give me one sec, guys. No. Okay, round 3. Round 3, Rick Glenn landed 109 strikes, 84 of those significant to Gavin Tucker's 7. And the referee stood right there and just looked at it. There was a point where Rick Glenn was like, I'm kind of tired of punching this guy's face through the fucking canvas, so we let him up, and Gavin Tucker just like, zombie moded over to the fence, like stumbled, his brain obviously was not really connected to his body. Just like fell face first into the fence and then leaned against the fence with his hands down. Rick Glenn front kicked him to the face, and the referee just kept I took a picture of it, I screen capped it, and I sent it to somebody on my Twitter friends list. Referee standing there just looking right at it, looking right at Rick Glenn's foot connecting with Gavin Tucker's face after Gavin Tucker ate 30 to 50 unanswered ground and pound strikes. And he let the fight go on. And all the while, both Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier were like, this fight could probably be stopped any time now. Yep, this fight could probably be stopped now. Seen enough here. It was not competitive for the last 5 minutes, and Rick Glenn just fucking destroyed Gavin Tucker. So my WTF of the card is going to whoever that referee was. And more broadly, WTF Edmonton Athletic Commission. What the fuck were you doing? Fire that referee immediately. They're supposed to be about fighter safety. Oof. That guy. Oh, and Gavin Tucker was undefeated coming into this and was a highly touted prospect. Looked a little bit like a 145-pound version of Cody Garbrandt. Partly because he's just covered in tattoos, but partly because of his fighting style. And you just took probably years off of his fighting career, Mr. Referee and the Edmonton Athletic Commission. What the fuck? Ooh, man, that was annoying. All right, back into the fight card, guys. Sarah McMahon versus Ketlin Vieira. Sarah McMahon won the first round, got the takedown, got some ground and pound, got into the full mount position, and was like very vigorously trying to throw ground and pound at Ketlin, but like every one of her ground and pound strikes was missing Ketlin's face by like an inch, and she was still just going to town, didn't land a fucking one of them from mount. Round 2 comes out. Ketlin is doing better than McMahon on the feet, so McMahon decides to close the distance, go for a takedown. Ketlin got an underhook, switched position, got the fight to the ground, and shortly thereafter sunk in an arm triangle choke about midway through round number 2. Actually, it was at 4:16 of round number 2, so I was off my time there a little bit. But big win for Ketlin Vieira. Bad loss for Sarah McMahon. McMahon, even though now she's 11-4, she's 36 years old, and that's not a spring chicken in any division. And then in the lower weight classes, that's really kind of old. And then you factor in that she has a Olympic wrestling background behind her, so she's been competing at a high level for a really long time. I don't see Sarah McMahon getting close to the top ever again. Do I really expect big things from Ketlin Vieira? I don't know, man. She's 26 years old, and she could really rise up the ranks. Moving down some more. Sarah Cheesecake Morass. Morass? I don't know how to say that. I can't say it without saying Morass. Morris. Okay, there's that. Against Ashley Evans Smith. Feeling out process on the feet a little bit. Evan Smith got the fight to the ground. Sarah was using, like I said earlier, some really, really high-level flexibility. Got her feet way over her head and underneath of the chin of Ashley Evans Smith. Then snagged an armbar, spun it. Evan Smith did a good job defending for a while from the bottom, but Morass was able to extend her legs. She said her coaches were like, just use your legs, and she got it done. Cheesecake came in with a record of 4-3. Now she moves to 5-3. Impressive first-round submission victory via armbar. Moving down, we talked about Rick Glenn versus Gavin Tucker. Switching on to Alex White versus Mitch Danger Zone Clark. Alex White basically had his way with Mitch Clark. This fight was never close. Alex White was doing, wide right, left hook, a lot of that going on, low kicks in the clinch, knees to the body, just basically destroyed Mitch Clark and ended up getting the TKO stoppage at 4:36 of round number 2. In the post-fight interview, Alex White said he wants to fight again this year, so props to him for that. And Mitch Clark left one glove in the octagon and said that he retired. A possible another WTF of the card, and it's not something that you guys have probably seen. On Twitter, Mitch Clark, he did like normal people would do. He went on Twitter after he had an emotional retirement in the octagon. Said it was a joy to perform in front of his hometown, Edmonton. And even though he didn't get the result he wanted, he was retiring there. He went out on a shield. He had a really gritty performance. He showed a lot of heart in there. He said basically the same thing on Twitter, like, we didn't get the result I wanted tonight, guys, but I'm retiring. Thank you guys so much for the support and the love. And evidently a lot of people attacked him for being a shitty fighter. And, like, so this WTF is going to internet trolls and just internet assholes, man. The guy has more heart than you or I will ever have in our lives, than I could ever borrow from my relatives. Because we would not step in the octagon and do that, right? And he did it 16 times. And he took an ass whooping tonight and just kept moving forward. And he was man enough to do it in the octagon, like retire in the octagon, show emotion. A lot of men are not manly enough to show real raw emotion. Mitch Clark did that. And then you're going to go on Twitter and just troll him, talk a lot of shit to him. WTF, internet assholes. Get a life. Moving down to the Fight Pass prelims, Luis and Enrique versus Arjan Singh Bular. This was a decently fun fight. Bular basically overhand right and takedown on Luis en route to a decision victory. And the first fight of the night, Ragin' Cajun Johnson knocked out Adriano Martins at 49 seconds of round number 3. The first 10 minutes, basically, it was Cajun Johnson running, almost literally running from Adriano Martins. And Martins was trying to find a home for that left hand. He did a couple of times, but he wasn't throwing low kicks to impede the movement of Cajun Johnson. He was just chasing him. At the beginning of round 3, he got really, really frustrated and just went in there with a flurry, got a little crazy, and Cajun Johnson angled off to his right, threw a right hand at Adriano, hit him right behind the ear, and sent him careening to the canvas, put him straight to sleep, my friends. Now, time for the post-fight bonuses. Let's look at what the UFC gave out for official bonuses first, and then I'll see if they are correct. Let's see. I don't see him. Oh, here we go. Fight of the night, Stevens versus Melendez. Performance bonuses are going to Cejudo and Dos Anjos. I'm going to disagree. Stevens versus Melendez does not deserve to be fight of the night. Even though it was probably the most exciting fight of the night, it was one-sided. There were no ebbs, no flows. It was Jeremy Stevens the whole fucking way. So if there's no ebbs, no flows, for me, you cannot win fight of the night. So my performance bonuses are going to go to Rafael Dos Anjos, Henry the Messenger Cejudo, Sarah Moras, and Ketlin Vieira. And since this is my show and I'm not actually giving away $50,000, also Ragin' Cajun Johnson is going to get an extra 50 G's. So if I had 50 G's in Monopoly money, those 5 people would be getting bonuses from me. And as for my post-fight letter grade, which I probably did not give it earlier, I'm going to give the card post-fight a C. I gave it a C coming in, but I gave it like a 2.8 out of 5 coming in, and I'm going to give it like a 3.1 out of 5 going out. So it's still a C, but it was a little better than I expected. The main event kind of didn't live up to my expectations, which I've got some breaking news kind of on the main event. According to Shaheen Al-Shadi from MMA Fighting, the scorecards for the main event, the first round was consensus for Amanda Nunez. The next 4 rounds, there was no consensus at all. So we can look at the judges' scorecard real quick before we get out of here, guys. All of you that are still hanging out, I really appreciate you so very much. Okay, so Tony Weeks gave rounds 1 and 4 to Nunez. Saldi Amato gave rounds 1, 3, 5 to Nunez. David Theron gave rounds 1, 2, and 5 to Nunez. So yeah, there's no consistency there. I'm glad to see that one person Tony Weeks gave round 5 to Valentina Bullet Shevchenko. I would have gone with 2, 4, 5. Is that right? I think 2, 4, 5 for Shevchenko. that's what I would have done. Anyway, so that's the show, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to MMA Mania on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to us there. It's mostly just my content. I'm basically in charge of it. And if you haven't already, please like my Facebook page. I'm trying to get to 1,000 likes by Halloween, All Hallows Eve. So there's that. I really appreciate you all again for joining me so very much. I'll see you guys. I'm doing Mania's Morning Minute. I'll be back on Monday to do that. Until then, stay safe, my friends. Namaste. Bye, Scott.